Giving a presentation can be stressful. There are just too many balls to keep in the air. An effective opening, audience engagement, body language, visual aids, and anxiety management. There is no such thing as a perfect presentation. We're all bound to make mistakes, rookies and expert presenters alike. And that's all right. Why? Because we're not robots. We're humans. As such, we are inherently error-prone. But if you want to have a better presentation, here are some important points that you should and shouldn't do. 1. Focus on the key message. Your audience is most likely composed of busy individuals. Respect them by not wasting their time. After briefly introducing yourself, tell them what they can expect to learn from your presentation. Then, go through your points one by one. Having an outline and sticking to it, it will help prevent you from going around in circles. With an outline, you can structure your presentation and go from introduction to body to conclusion smoothly. In short, an outline can help you plan how you can make the most impact on your audience. Remember, people have short attention spans. If you don't deliver on your promises and you keep on talking about non-relevant stuff, people will tune you out. You better give them something important to chew on before they turn their attention elsewhere. Presenters who don't define their presentation goal are prone to making a lot of mistakes, which translates to a high risk of failure. Before you even plan out your content, you should know what your presentation's goal is. Are you looking to inform, educate, persuade, activate, inspire, or entertain the audience? Now, it doesn't have to be one or the other. One would expect an informative or educational presentation to be a bit more serious than an entertaining one would be. But, if it's not against the rules, try to liven things up as well. You can say you want to educate and, at the same time, entertain people. Or, you can persuade and inspire your audience simultaneously. Whatever your goals may be, always have the audience in mind. Meet people's expectations and plan your presentation in such a way that they will not be disappointed. From the very beginning, the audience should feel that your speech is leading to something important. This is what will spark their curiosity and keep their attention focused. Of course, to achieve such an effect, you should actually have something important to communicate. Otherwise, your audience will feel like they wasted their time, and would be right to think so. The material you present should resemble an arrow with a clear point, not an unending loop of words that leads to nowhere. But having something worth telling is only part of the job. You also need to make sure that your entire presentation is woven around that key idea. From beginning to end, your core message should be your guiding light. Each sentence should move the audience closer to it, and by the end of the speech, leave them with a sense of illumination. 2. Plan the structure. It's so easy to put off preparing for a presentation when you know the topic like the back of your hand. In your mind's eye, you can see yourself finishing the outline, the speech, and the slides all in just a few hours. But, of course, when it comes right down to it, you find yourself panicking because you underestimated the task at hand. So, when you get to your presentation, you're sweating nervously. And your slides are nothing but a bunch of copied and pasted text from the internet. Procrastination has destroyed so many reputations and so many careers. Leaving stuff up to the very last minute may give you a rush of adrenaline. It makes you feel powerful when you get lucky and pull a successful presentation off. However, it also makes you think you can pull the same stunt every time you have a presentation coming up. You get complacent and don't prepare until the very last minute. Planning your speech beforehand is the only way to avoid getting sidetracked. As you think about your message, try to structure it in a way that makes its delivery most effective for the audience. So, how do you structure a presentation? Consider both the logical and emotional implications of your structure. First, you want to give your listeners enough background information to help them get better acquainted with the topic, but not so much as to get them bored. Once all the need-to-knows are out of the way, make a seamless transition to your main message and start laying out your arguments in a convincing way. Also, think about the emotional effect you want to achieve in each part of your presentation. The best way to go about it is to capture your audience's attention right off the bat, which is often considered to be the hardest part of giving a presentation. How do I begin a presentation? Is a question you've surely asked yourself. Once you are done introducing yourself, you can jump into the presentation with a story or an intriguing question. Then, build suspense throughout the speech and release it at the end with a well-grounded closing statement. 3. Know who your audience is. You are doing your presentation to benefit your audience. So, spending a fair amount of time researching your topic is the right thing to do. But don't stop there. Learn more about your audience, too. How can your presentation add value to people's lives? Why should they listen to you? And why should they care about your presentation? Getting to know your audience can mean the difference between success and failure. If your message resonates with them, they're going to pay attention to you. Otherwise, they'll tune you out if they simply have no reason to listen to you. Let's say, for example, you're giving a presentation on a new product your company is launching. If you know your audience, you can tell stories that they can relate to. You can cite real-life examples that are relevant to your audience. If you're presenting in front of a culturally diverse group of people, you don't want to make an off-putting joke that people will hate you for. Offending your audience is the last thing you want to happen during your presentation. 4. Tell a story. How do you present a topic? As human beings, we're attracted to stories. This is why we go to the movies, read fiction and, yes, become all ears when hearing gossip. Thus, it's always a good idea to begin your presentation with a story or even spice it up with one in the middle. This can make all the difference between an engaged and indifferent audience. 5. Keep a conversational tone. Many first-time public speakers try a bit too hard to make their speech expressive. As a result, their presentations appear showy and even pompous to the audience. To prevent this, simply use a conversational tone. Feel like you are communicating your message to individual people, rather than a large alien audience. This will not only ease you up, but will help the audience connect to you as well. After all, when you really look at it, you are talking to individual people, not their aggregation. 6. Remember the takeaway. What is the one thing you'd wish the audience to take away from your speech as they leave the room, or after you finish your presentation? Define it in a single phrase or sentence, using straightforward, accessible language, and present it at the end of your presentation. Keep that takeaway in mind when planning your speech, and put a special emphasis on it during the wrap-up. 7. Time your speech. There's probably a specific time frame within which you should complete your speech. Even if it's not rigidly set, the audience will have certain expectations as to how long your presentation will take. Therefore, it's important to plan beforehand the approximate time your speech should take and set a timer during rehearsals. If your presentation lasts longer than expected, make sure to leave the inessential parts out. As you memorize your material, your speech will get smoother and faster. This will also shorten the time required for it. Thus, before making any adjustments to the length of your script, rehearse it a few times. 8. Do your rehearsals. Practice your speech as many times as necessary to build confidence. This is not to say you should memorize every single word or sentence, but you should know exactly what you need to cover at every point. When you're confident enough about your speech, there's one less reason to be nervous during the presentation. You can now relax and focus on building rapport with your audience. People attend your presentation because they want to learn something new from you. So, if you show up to your presentation without doing your research or your homework, then you're essentially wasting their time. It's important to be prepared for your presentation. But don't just cover the basics and then gloss over the details. Be prepared to go as in-depth as possible and cover all possible angles. Now, I don't mean you need to know everything about the subject, but do try to be as well informed as possible. Don't tell people what they already know. Figure out how you can sell your ideas and make your presentation engaging and exciting. 9. Dress appropriately. How would you feel if you wore formal attire to someone's presentation and the speaker shows up wearing street clothes? You'd probably be annoyed that you took the time to dress up. Here you are listening to someone who didn't even bother to wear a more suitable outfit for his talk. First impressions are everything. The right clothes can make people warm up to you. You are selling an image of being a professional, trustworthy speaker. Your clothes can definitely speak volumes on your behalf. When in doubt, stick to the classics. Gray or black business suits look good in presentations. If you're borrowing someone else's suit, make sure it at least fits you. You don't want to look like you're swimming in your clothes. For best results, invest in your own business suits. Wearing your own clothes will help you feel more comfortable and more confident. Don't forget about your hair too. You want nothing sticking out, unless you're speaking to a bunch of guys with spiky hair. But even then, you still want to maintain an air of professionalism. The bottom line is, make yourself look good, so you'll feel good. Carefully pick out your clothes. Let your audience see that you're someone they can build a professional relationship with. 10. Don't read. Trust me when I say you are disrespecting your audience by reading whatever is on your slides. It's like you're assuming they don't know how to read for themselves. What's even worse is when your slides are so crammed with text that the font size becomes reduced to near infinitesimal levels. So, you end up inadvertently insulting your audience even more. Now they're stuck listening to you read your slides because they can't read what's on there. It's the double whammy of bad presentations. To sum up this point, people want to learn from you and they want to listen to you. But they don't want to listen to you read your slides. 11. Don't rely on slides. A slide should never be the main source of information for the audience. Use it as a mere extension that makes your speech more engaging or credible. Always keep in mind that your audience needs to learn from you, the speaker, not from your slide. It goes without saying that you shouldn't stuff any slide with text, or include so much information, whether textual or visual, that your audience gets overwhelmed and stops following your speech. When it comes to slide design, minimalism is your best friend. To know if you are relying heavily on your slides or not, ask yourself this question. Will my presentation still make sense without the slides? If the answer's no, then you should rethink your script. But there's also a fun side to this. When you free your slides of the burden to inform, they can now be used creatively and even enhance the effect of your speech. 12. Don't use fancy slideshows. If you've ever attended a presentation where the presenter showed a dizzying and confusing array of slides, or droned on and on without caring if anyone's actually listening, then you've personally experienced this phenomenon. I bet you and everyone else were thinking you'd rather be anywhere else but there. This is personally one of my pet peeves in presentations: cramming way too much info on slides. When you lay out everything on your slides, you don't give your audience any incentive to continue listening to you. They're just going to read your slide and play on their phones while they wait for you to move on to the next slide. They'll just repeat this process until the end of your presentation. The element of surprise or the unknown is important in presentations. Keep your audience's interest by not sharing everything on your slides. Pique their curiosity by giving hints and clues on your slides. Then deliver a verbal discussion on what those hints mean. Another benefit of not putting way too much text or information in your slides is that you avoid doing the next mistake. Subjecting your audience to a presentation with non-stop animations and transitions is akin to torture. Seriously, try watching your presentation yourself and see if you can last till the end without getting dizzy, or worse, throwing up. Animations, when used sparingly and carefully, can do a lot of good to your presentation. You can get people to refocus their attention on you. A subtle movement every now and then can emphasize important points in your presentation. Applying animation effects to every single element on your slides is just plain overkill. For best results, stick to simple animations. The most commonly used slide transition effect is a simple fade animation. For object animations, there are plenty of options to choose from in PowerPoint. Before you apply an animation effect, ask yourself first if it adds any value to your presentation. If the answer is no, forget it. If yes, then by all means, add that effect to your slide. How a good presentation should look like. Nowadays, there are lots of advanced presentation software and screen sharing tools one can use to wow the audience. The problem with them: wowing your audience with something as trivial as slides is hardly why you're making your speech. The fewer distractions there are in your presentation, the better. Keep this in mind and avoid using anything showy. 13. Don't talk too fast or slow. Many rookie presenters are guilty of this common presentation mistake. Who wants to listen to a presenter speak gibberish? Not me. And I'm pretty sure not you either. You're attending a presentation because you want to learn something. When the speaker on stage doesn't speak clearly, frustrations can quickly build up. So, when you practice your speech, it's important to make sure you enunciate each word clearly. Don't use words that your audiences aren't familiar with. If you're speaking to a bunch of elderly people, don't use lingo they may not understand. If you're with a younger group, try to learn their slang so they'll feel more comfortable with you. Also, when using acronyms, make sure you define it first so people don't end up confused. You want everyone to be on the same page as you, and communication is the key to achieving this particular goal. While presenting, it's recommended to maintain a consistent pace that's neither too fast nor too slow. Talking fast might cause unnecessary tension in the audience, and excessively slow speech is sure to annoy them. While different people naturally speak at different paces, it's still something that can be worked on and modified with enough practice. You can refine your pacing during rehearsals until the preferred pace is second nature to you. 14. Don't forget to back up the file. In most cases, you won't have a technical team on standby. Whether you are doing a one-on-one presentation or presenting in front of a group, it's important to personally make sure you can access the presentation file. It doesn't matter if you are using PowerPoint, Keynote, or Google Slides, or whatever your preferred presentation app is. You may have designed a bunch of impressive-looking slides, but if you can't access it on presentation day, then your work is all for naught. This is especially important when the stakes are high. People are not going to trust you if they witness you panicking because the presentation file is corrupted, or worse, missing. Well, if you're considerate enough, you will have a USB flash drive with backup slides. Next time you feel like foregoing this little step, recall this scenario. 15. Don't neglect body language. The way you move your body on stage tells a story. And if that story is incoherent with the one you're telling with your words, disharmony arises. Imagine a speaker is talking about peace and tolerance, yet their every movement is abrupt, hasty, and aggressive. Sure, this might be the result of nervousness, But would you still be able to connect to the message? The answer's likely to be no. When rehearsing your speech, don't neglect body language. Practice standing tall, keeping your hands open and your movements relaxed. Avoid pacing on the stage during your presentation, as it may distract, or, worse yet, annoy your listeners. And, of course, don't skip eye contact. Instead of glancing over the entire audience, pick a few individuals from different parts of the room and establish your eye contact with them. This little trick will help you feel like you're speaking to one person at a time. And that's far more manageable than speaking to everyone at once. Making eye contact is one of the first things you should work on as a presenter. Why? Because avoiding eye contact during presentations make you look dodgy and untrustworthy. You won't inspire confidence. So, don't be surprised if no one takes you seriously. With eye contact, however, you make it easy for people to see that you actually believe in what you are saying. Eye contact helps you build connections with your audience. When you make eye contact for a few seconds, you feel like you're talking to that person one-on-one. In that moment, you make that audience member feel important and respected. In return, they will be more receptive to the message you're sharing with them. If you're a naturally shy person, you'll need to take some baby steps in the beginning. Try practicing making eye contact with the people you interact with on a daily basis. Over time, you'll find yourself making eye contact naturally, and you'll feel your confidence levels rising. Don't rush. To emphasize a point, sometimes what you need is not words but their absence. Take a pause after you ask a question or make a strong statement. Spare your audience a moment to think, reflect, and ponder. Or leave a gap of silence right before you present something exciting to build suspense and anticipation. No one expects you to go on talking for 10 to 15 minutes without a pause. Take a few seconds once in a while to breathe. Draw in deep breaths to collect your thoughts and calm your nerves if the situation calls for it. This is one of the most effective ways to relax when presenting. These were the things good presentations include. Hopefully, you've learned enough from our tips and are now ready to get to work. Finally, you don't need to aim for a perfect presentation. But avoiding these common presentation mistakes will definitely help you become a better presenter. Define your presentation goal and plan out your content before you do anything else. When designing your slides, make your audience's visual experience a positive one. Create a strong first impression and engage with your audience throughout your presentation. Help them learn from you, and they'll help you achieve your presentation goals.